Okay. Today is Wednesday, September 16th. This is class 9 of Cadd 212. Architecture. Today in class we'll be going over a plan review and looking at different sets of plans and information that needs to be included in your construction documents. In Revit, we'll be learning how to create a site, do property lines, topo surface, split surface. We'll also learn how to crochet in Revit and create sheets. So if everybody wants to jump into Canvas. Under in files, if you want to go to your midterm project, there's a couple of things that we're going to be going over today, a couple of new stuff, some new stuff that I dropped in here. We'll be going over plan set, if you want to open that up, sheets and symbols. We'll be reviewing these 3 files today. So we'll go ahead and let's open them all up and just kind of take a look at it. You can download it. It'll be easy to kind of work through at that time. And sheet numbers, this is all information that you will be needing to use when you're creating your sheets. And symbols. All right, so let's look at these real quick. Let's zoom in on this. As this indicates, this is just a list of symbols that will be shown on a set of architectural plans. Most of it is very straightforward. You will be seeing these in plans, and you'll be using some of these as we progress. They're very self-explanatory. Dimension, obviously dimension lines, leader lines. We'll be doing room tags. They won't look exactly like this, but it'll be similar. We'll be doing room tags on this the second half of the semester. We're not going to be using equipment tags. Obviously, elevation heights will be used, especially in elevation views. We will learn how to do window tags. We will do door tags as well. We're not going to use this round symbol for door tags, so you'll use this more tic-tac looking one. You'll also note there's material tags, keynote tags, partition types, such as the different wall types. If a wall type is CMU, or if it's a fire rated wall and the such. So for ceiling materials and ceiling heights, we're not going to use those. As we go over the set of plans today, you'll notice that detail tag is used a lot, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Elevation tags, sections, and column grids. So you'll see all this used in the next in the set of plans that we're going to review today. Let's jump into that set of plans. So this is a very abbreviated set of plans from this project. I deleted the majority of the pages because there's just these plans are very in-depth. We're doing a very abbreviated set in class, just so you can kind of get a taste of how this is created. But as we go through this, you'll see that a lot of stuff is missing, but it still gives you an idea of how we want to create these plans. So this is obviously just the title page, name of the project, has the name of the architect and the consultants that were used on it. And on this title page, you'll notice that it's also got the title block, and a lot of this information is referenced back and forth. A lot of it's redundant, but it's used so we can keep everything organized. You'll notice that they have the numbering, the page numbering information down here. We'll learn how to do that. This page is G101. G stands for general, like a general information. So it's G101 sheet, and they're broken down into different disciplines, so it's just easier to organize a set of plans. This is a general information sheet. It goes over a lot of the information that's actually in the set of plans. You'll notice that some of it's information that I've already given you, such as the symbols. If you want to like zoom in on here when you have your free time and kind of read through some of this, it kind of gives you an idea how the project is broken down. Obviously abbreviations, just have some interesting project statistics in this section. Gives you the regulatory agencies, the actual location, zoning, type of occupation, occupancy classifications, construction areas, stories. So you'll find a lot of different information on project statistics. And then also for table of contents, you'll notice how this is broken down. Here we have our general information sheets, our civil, landscaping, architectural. So here we can see, if you just even look at the different titles on these different millwork, it really drills down to the details on how this building is put together. And we also have, well, there's different alternatives on this one. Structural drawings, mechanical drawings, our plumbing drawings, electrical, everything's kind of broken down into different categories and disciplines on these plans. So we will be doing an abbreviated version of this on ours. We will be including a vicinity map as well. We'll learn how to do that. Just gives us the location of it in the real world. And then they also have materials designation on here as well. We won't be doing that. All right. Next page is the site map. So you can see this is an A101, so we're starting the architectural plans on A101, which is our site plan right here. We also have the drawing tag, which will be used on our drawings as well. And you can see the information out on here can be a little bit overwhelming. You will have an abbreviated version of this. A lot of this also covers our sites. Here we're getting into the real meat and potatoes of the drawing. You have your column grid running across the top and down the bottom, corresponding with the main building sections of the building, such as if you're looking at column grid 3D. If we zoom in on, we zoom in on this area, you'll notice there's an area of detail. That area of detail corresponds with the next sheet, which gives us different plan details. If we look at the numbering on this one, you'll notice it's plan details, but this is also details that are used to create individual wall types. This is rolling. So if we zoom in on this one down here, we'll notice that this is drawing 1 on page A251. So this is page A251, drawing 1. Plan detail of this wall section. So when I talked about wall sections before and wall details before, this is really what we're talking about, just zooming in and getting down to the nitty-gritty of how these walls are built. This is really where your contractor is going to get the full details of how to create this building for you. You can see how it's really broken down into the different pieces of the wall, much like we created our own wall, which is very simple. This one you can see is a lot more detailed. So we've got our metal stud, our gypboard, our brick face, adjustable ties. You can just read through here all the different aspects of how this wall is created. So you can see how in a larger set of plans, that full floor plan, it really doesn't give you the details of how a building's put together. So these details are very important. You're going to see this in also in roof details and several other sections, and site details and flooring and things like that. So you'll see a lot of different plan details as you actually read through a set of plans. So if I would take time, if I were you, and just kind of look at this and see how read through some of these and get an idea of how this the details work with these other plans. But you can also see how this one will correspond to the larger plan set. So here, like I said, this is page A251 and it's drawing 1. But if we go back up to our other sheet, you'll notice I also have that highlighted here. So in our larger sheet, in our larger floor plan, we have this detail area right here. And you can find this on page A251, drawing 1. All the rest of them correspond as well. So this one is also on page A251, but this is detail number 9. So you get an idea of how all this is put together. Here's our section view. I don't have section views, but if we wanted to find what this section view looked like, you would be fine drawing 1 on page A352. There's Office 104. Here's a different wall type here. This is wall type 2. Windows with their different window symbols. This is a window symbol W1. This is window symbol W14. So 2 different window types. So we will be using some of this stuff when we create our floor plan, but once again, not to the detail that we have on here. I had briefly mentioned schedules to you before. This is our schedule sheet. Schedule sheet takes all those doors and windows information, gives you a drawn example of how they look in the real world, and then also gives you a schedule of how they're going to be created. We'll do a schedule as well, not for this project, but the second project, but we will learn how to do window schedules. So that's some really abbreviated information on how to do a set of drawings and what's involved. So you can see just by this page right here, there's a lot of drawings that are involved within making a set of architectural plans. For our sheets right here, you'll need these sheet numbers, and I'm going to put some information in Canvas this weekend for which sheets you'll be needing when we create our portfolio for this one. But you can just see how they correspond. G101 is your title sheet, so we'll be doing some general information sheets, and then your A sheets, your architectural sheets, and as we start talking about sheeting a little bit more, this will start making sense. But these are the pages that you want to refer to when you're creating your sheets this week and next week. All right, any questions about what we've just reviewed? Okay, we'll jump into Revit work today. We're going to jump into creating a site. So here I've just done a quick little mock-up of a basic building. So when we want to create our site, we want to go to our floor plan and our site level. You'll have a view that looks like this. So to create a basic site, what we want to do is go to our Massing and Site tab. And then the first thing we want to do is go to the Modify Site panel and use our Property Line tool. When we click on our Property Line tool, you're going to get 2 different options. Create by entering distances and bearings, which we do not have, or create by sketching. Create by sketching is good for the projects that you have now because it'll just give you a chance to lay out the size of that site. For example, if we have a site that's, just do 76. So if you have the actual measurements of your lot, you can use that. Once you have your lot size laid out, all right, go away. Go back to Massing and Site tab. Now we use our Topo Surface tool. And we're just going to click on those points where our site is. And hit our green check mark. And we turn the color on. I got something that looks like that. I'll go to 3D. And we'll see we have our site in place as well. So it's a lovely shade of earth. So what we want to do is create some grass. So how we create grass is just how we create our other materials. We're going to go to Manage tab, Materials tool. We're always going to start from Create New. We're going to rename that to Grass. And go down to our asset browser. And you can't type grass in here. It's one of the few things that actually works, but I just kind of continue to scroll through here until we find grass. So here's our different grass selection. We have St. Augustine down here, so I'll just go ahead and use that. Okay, so I have my grass created. Now what I want to do is click on the site space. Notice in my properties, it's going to come up with a materials option. So now I can go into my materials and collect and select my grass. And I just changed that to a grass material, so now it's green. So one of the weird things about when we bring in the site, if we just turn this over, and I'm going to hide the slab and show you what happened. I have grass inside the house, inside your building, so we need to remove that. There's a couple of different ways to do it. What we're going to do when we do it is we're going to use, I really need to turn that off. There we go, much better. We're going to use split surface in order to remove this. Split surface, there's two different ways that we can create different regions within a site, and it's split surface and subregion. In split surface, you're creating two separate and distinct pieces of property within this site. So that means they'll work separately. If you cut it out and you delete it, then it's gone. And then there's also subregion. We'll talk about subregion a little bit later, so because a lot of times people get these confused. But the main way to think about it is split surface is, think about it as splits the property, the topo surface, into two distinct surfaces. It's laid out right there for you to kind of help. All right. So what we're basically going to do is highlight this area and then cut this area out within the house, so we no longer have site within the house itself. So I'm going to click on split surface, make it active, then click on the property line that I want to split, and it's active at this time. I do while it's upside down, so it's just a little bit easier to view. I'm going to use this tool right here, my drawing tool for rectangle, because I just have an easy set of geometry to draw here, and I'm just going to draw the shape that I want to remove from here. And I'll hit my green check mark. And that's the only thing that's staying blue right now, so I know I did that correct. And the only thing I need to do is hit delete. So now you can see inside the house, there's no longer any ground, any site inside the house. And I can turn my slab back on. Now if I go back up, I'll turn the house roof off, and I just have that slab in there. Let me do that again. Actually, let me delete this and I'll do the whole thing again. All right, so in order to draw your site, we want to go to site floor plan. First thing you want to do is draw your property line. Create by sketch. And you can draw whatever shape you want. then hit our green check mark. Go back to Massing and Site tab and use your topo surface tool in order to insert the site. And we're just going to click on those points there. And then hit our green check mark. Then we're going to go to 3D. I just like to turn it over. It's just easier to work with that from the bottom view. We're going to go to split surface, click on split surface, then click on the topo surface that you actually want to split. Draw the geometry that you want. And hit the green check mark. Now at this time, I don't have that blue space that tells me it was done correctly because I forgot to hide my slab. Well, I'll have to go back, hide the slab now. And now I can pick that space and hit delete. So now I've removed that site from inside the model. I'll go ahead and put that slab back. I'll select the site. I'll come over to my properties. For material, I'll go ahead and I'll change that to grass. Now, once you have that done, you can add a few other things. We can add site components on here. So you go to site component, go to load family, and there's certain things that you can add. There's planting. I don't want you to go hog wild because this is all stuff that you're going to have to hide later on, but it's just kind of fun to kind of play with. So if we just wanted to add a couple of like different elements to your site just to kind of dress it up, but don't go hog wild because you will have to hide this when we put it on a sheet, but it is kind of fun to play with. So just another way to kind of explore what we can do in Revit. Go to site component again, go to load family again. Let's see what other ones they have in here. They've got a couple of other ones, a couple of interesting things in here. Site. We got parking, if you wanted to do that. Accessories, bike stand, all sorts of fun things, but don't go crazy about that because you will have to kind of hide those later on. But it is just kind of something to play with. So let's go to 3D to see how that looks. You see my little very lifelike shrub in there. Okay. Any questions about how to create a site? Okay, next we want to talk about pocheting. So to poche in Revit, what poche actually means is if you take a look at this drawing right here, what we're talking about when we say that is actually kind of darkening the lines within a wall space. This one is not really good about showing that, but it's usually you'll have those darker lines that run around the outside of the drawing. This one's very detailed, so it's not going to happen. I'm trying to see if there's any examples of that in here. No. But we're actually just kind of darkening in the space between the two walls. So instead of having it look hollow, it's going to look like it's blackened in. And when I do it, you'll see how it makes a little bit more sense. But we do want to do this. This is kind of the last thing you want to do once you have everything on a sheet and things like that. It's the last thing we want to do is just do this poche, just to make it look crisper. So what we'll do is go to over one of the walls, right click, Go to override graphics in view. We'll do by element first, just so you see how it works. Then we're going to go down to cut patterns. We're going to change the material to solid fill and change the color of the material to black and apply, and notice how it darkens in that wall right there. Oops, I hit delete. Let's do that again. We'll go ahead and click on one wall. This time when we right click, we'll go to override graphics in view. You can do by category, which will do them all at the same time. Go down to cut patterns, change that pattern material to solid fill, change that color to black, and hit OK, and OK again, and it did them all at the same time. So if you just want to do element will just do one. If you want to do category, obviously that'll do the whole thing at the same time. But once again, this is one of the last things you want to do before you turn in your document, because it does get, sometimes it does muddy things up for you as you're laying things out. So you can practice that, or you can, turn it off. We can turn it off by going back to override graphics in view by category, and then you can change that color to white. And that'll switch it back for you. So that's really easy to fix, but it is something that just kind of makes a floor plan just look a lot sharper. So if you do see that on a test or a quiz and you ask what poche means, it just means to darken the space between the walls. And then any questions about that? We'll talk about that a little bit more next week as well. You don't have to do that for your drawing right now. I just wanted to kind of show you how to do that right now. The only other thing we're going to do today is start talking about sheets. So you can start laying out your sheets, and we'll work on that mostly next week, finishing up all your details, correcting everything, and then really getting everything together so we can get that turned in for the following Monday. So for sheets, we want to come down to our project browser. Here we have our sheet section right here. So you want to right click on that and you want to hit new sheet. At this time, you're going to get this window that pops up that gives you, the only one that's loaded in here already is this default one. But if we wanted to use a different sheet size, you would go to the load button. You scroll down to title blocks. And here we have the different title blocks available for us to use. Since this is just kind of a small, easy project, would like everyone to use the B 11 by 17 horizontal. Once you load that in there, it's going to be loaded. You don't have to reload it every time. So now our B 11 by 17 horizontal is available. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And that's going to generate your sheet that looks like this. So you want to change all this information down here. Just to go over it really quick. Owner will be, you click on owner, double click, and we can put Delgado on there, put DCC. Project name, let's, oops, midterm. Or if you have a name for your project, if you want to call it something else, that's fine. You'll be changing this information as well. A lot of times people get confused about which one's which. Click the one on the right, or if you just click it, you'll notice that it'll highlight for your project number. It's going to be Cadd 212. Issue date is going to be the day that it's due. I'm going to give you this information on a separate page. Author will be your initials, checker will be my initials. You just use MCM. This information will be changed in a second. All right, so now we have our basic information on the sheet filled out. We will have to add more, but just to get started, you want to just start creating your sheets like that. So if this was going to be our site plan sheet, what we do is come into over here under our project browser. We click and hold our site and kind of drag it over into this window. Then when you let go, it's going to show up with a window like this. Bring it over your sheet and just drop that in place. So this is where we really get a chance to kind of manipulate the sheets and how we want it to look and things like that. And that's probably the biggest issue people have, is just, you know, getting everything completed within your sheet to make it look like a readable, sharp drawing. So this is not good. A couple of errors that I have going on here, since this is my site plan sheet, you never want these elevation markers to show up within your sheet itself. We want to get rid of those. Also, just another level of detail that we want to take a look at is this drawing tag. The drawing tag works kind of weird, and it's just a matter of practice and getting used to how to manipulate it. So when we click on the drawing and make it active, notice how when I come over it with my cursor, this black box, this location box shows up. When I click on that box and make it active, notice on my drawing tag, I have these nodes that show up on either side of this drawing tag. What I'd like you to do is, when that's active, shrink that back to just a smaller size. I do like the placement of it right now, but that's going to change once I start manipulating the rest of this drawing. So with the drawing active, the nodes show up and I can make this smaller. When I click outside of it, that drawing box goes away.